The smell of cinnamon filled the kitchen. My fingers still burned from carrying the pecan pie across the snowy porch. Warmth from the oven, laughter from the TV in the next room. And then his voice, "Return the $40,000 Calla, or don't come home again." I froze, not from the cold, but from the weight in his words. No one else spoke, just the tick of the clock behind me. Have your parents ever said something that shattered you? Where in the world are you listening from? Hit subscribe for more true revenge. Boston always smelled like wet asphalt in November, but I loved it. The rush, the rhythm, the way the city never asked me to explain myself. At 33, I had built a life out of precision audit trails, spreadsheets, clean conclusions. Forensic financial investigations weren't glamorous, but truth never needed to sparkle. My apartment overlooked the harbor, glass walls, gray couch, quiet, no family portraits, just peace. Then the voicemail came. "Don't forget Thanksgiving." Calla, my mom said, her voice light. "Bring that pecan pie, you do better than me." She always said that, even though it was her recipe. I stared at my calendar. Maple Ridge wasn't on it. I hadn't missed a Thanksgiving in 7 years, but every time I returned, I left feeling smaller. Still, I baked crushed pecans, brown sugar, her secret 1 tablespoon of molasses. The smell alone made the apartment feel warmer. On Wednesday morning, I packed the pie, a clean outfit, and my laptop, just in case work needed me, or in case I needed an excuse to leave early. The drive north took 4 hours. Fog clung to the windshield like breath. Maple Ridge hadn't changed. White fences, wind chimes, gas stations with handwritten signs that said cash only. I parked outside the house I grew up in. Same shutters, same squeaky gate, but I didn't feel like I belonged anymore. The porch light was on. I knocked anyway. My mom opened the door wearing an apron dusted in flour. Her smile flickered. "You look tired," she said. "Hi to you too," I replied, forcing a smile. She stepped aside. The house smelled like cloves and turkey stock. It used to make me feel safe. Now it made me brace. In the living room, Lark was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up. "You're early," she muttered. Traffic was light. "Lucky you." Pause line. I placed the pie on the counter and took off my coat. "Need help?" I asked Mom. She shook her head. "We're fine." Not I. Just behind her, I saw Jonah's jacket hanging by the door. He was here too. I swallowed hard. The whole family was gathering, but not for reunion. For something else. I just didn't know it yet. Pause line. I thought I was coming home. Turns out I was walking into a verdict. Dinner started like it always did. China plates, crystal glasses, a roast turkey Mom basted every hour since dawn. Grace was said. Knives clinked. Laughter echoed faint but present. I passed the stuffing to Jonah. He nodded without looking at me. Mom asked Lark about her temp job. She mumbled something about not hearing back yet. Then silence. Dad cleared his throat. He always did that before making an announcement. But I wasn't ready for this one. "Calla," he said, setting his fork down, "return the 40,000. Or don't bother coming home again." The room didn't move. No gasp, no protest. Just forks midair and faces that wouldn't meet mine. "What?" I blinked. My hands were on my napkin, twisting it. "Is this a joke?" "No," Lark said, her voice flat. "You know what you did." I looked around, at Jonah, at Mom, at Dad. Nobody spoke. The mashed potatoes grew cold. "What exactly are you accusing me of?" I asked. Mom's lips parted, but nothing came out. Dad didn't blink. Lark leaned forward, elbows on the table. 40 grand disappeared from Mom's account last month, right after you set up her online banking. I felt the blood drain from my face. I helped her. That's all I did. Jonah finally spoke. The bank confirmed it was done online. Only one device had access. "Mine?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Lark nodded. "You even set the passwords." I couldn't breathe. Mom still wouldn't look at me. She just dabbed her mouth with her napkin, as if all this was just inconvenient. I stood slowly. "I didn't take anything." "Then prove it." Dad said, his voice like ice. "You have until Friday. After that, we're involving legal counsel." I couldn't cry. Not here, not in front of them. I placed the napkin gently on the plate, turned, and walked out. Behind me, the only sound was the clink of a spoon against porcelain. Pause line. Even the pie stayed untouched. The heater in the motel coughed like an old smoker. I sat on the edge of the bed, shoes off, coat still on. The room smelled like damp carpet and fake lemon cleaner. I hadn't cried. Not in the car. Not even when I passed the frozen lake where we used to skate. My laptop whirred as it woke. I opened a secure portal and typed quickly. Message to Theo. Need internal poll. Greenstream CU. 10:01:11:20. Evelyn Brenner. Withdrawals and access logs. Quietly. He didn't ask questions. He never did. 5 minutes later, he replied. You okay? I typed, just verifying something personal. Another 5. Then it came. 3 flagged withdrawals. 20K, 12K, 8Ks. Dates October 14th, 18th, 22nd. All done when person. Pause line. I stared at the screen. They said I used online banking. They said I was the only one with access. But these weren't online. They were at the branch. Teller verified, logged physically. The log included branch number, teller ID, timestamps, and signatures. I swallowed. Clicked again. Attached link, security footage pending load. It buffered slowly. I stood and paced. My socks stuck slightly to the laminate floor. I hated this place, but tonight I needed it. The footage finally played. October 14th, 3:12 p.m. A woman in a gray hoodie stepped up to the counter. Blonde hair, sunglasses, head down. She slid an ID across. Pause line. I leaned closer. She pulled her mask down to speak. My chest seized. Lark? Even with the grainy video, I'd know that face anywhere. She was nervous, tapping her fingers, glancing behind her. Signed the slip. Took a white envelope. Walked out. Pause line. My fingers gripped the mouse so tight it clicked. I didn't breathe. She framed me, and she looked scared doing it. Not scared of the bank. Scared of getting caught. I opened the second video. October 18th. A man this time. Confident, no disguise. Pause line. Jonah. October 18th. Greenstream Credit Union, 11:09 a.m. Jonah stepped into frame. No hat, no glasses, no nerves. He joked with the teller, even leaned on the counter like he owned it. He handed something over Mom's checkbook, signed a withdrawal slip, smiled, took the cash, walked out. Pause line. I paused the video, looked at the signature. It matched every stroke, same as the one from last Christmas on the family card. Same curve on the J. My stomach turned. I clicked the third file. October 22nd. Greenstream, late afternoon. The same gray hoodie, different glasses. Same woman. Lark again. She looked rushed, kept glancing at her phone. Signed, nodded, left. Pause line. I sat back in the stiff motel chair. The ceiling light buzzed above me. They weren't panicking. They were confident, organized. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't borrowed money or a desperate favor. They waited until I helped Mom go paperless, used that moment as their cover. The withdrawals weren't digital, but the setup was. They just needed the timing. The perfect villain. Me, a successful daughter, far away, with access, and a job title that sounded like a threat. Pause line. They played me. I opened the internal transaction sheet again. The bank's notes included ID verification, Mom's driver's license. But Mom wouldn't hand that over easily, not even to her kids. So how did they get it? My mind rewound. 3 weeks ago, Mom's outpatient scan. Lark volunteered to stay overnight. I didn't question it. Thought she was helping. But Mom brought her purse. And Lark had the time. The purse, the ID, the checkbook. Everything. Pause line. And I had helped build the stage. I walked her through the passwords. The app, the 2-factor verification. She wrote it all down in a notepad. Left in the kitchen drawer. Unlocked. Anyone could have seen it. Anyone did. Pause line. I opened my laptop again. Searched IP logs. The first login after I left came from a tablet not Mom's phone. Same Wi-Fi Mom used. Same device Lark used for Netflix. One-time password. Sent to an alternate email. The recovery phone belonged to Jonah. Pause line. It wasn't sloppy. It was arrogant. They didn't think I'd question it. Because they were family. I didn't sleep. Just watched the motel light flicker across the ceiling. Outside snow began to fall again. Soft, relentless. I opened my suitcase and pulled out the black leather folder. The one I used for court presentations. My hands didn't shake anymore. Not because I wasn't hurt, but because the hurt had turned into fuel. I copied the footage. Downloaded the teller slips. Cross-referenced the dates, the times, the IP addresses. Lined up the metadata like soldiers before battle. Every detail matched. Every signature lined up. The handwriting on the withdrawal forms, same as the sticky note Lark left on Mom's fridge last week. Pause line. They didn't just steal. They used me as the smokescreen. They needed a scapegoat. And I was convenient, successful, far away, and trusted. Pause line. The part that stung wasn't the theft. It was that they believed I would. That mom didn't even ask. That dad went straight to threats. I thought I was the backbone of this family. Turns out I was just insulation. Disposable, replaceable. I stared at the screen until the numbers blurred, then closed the laptop. Pause line. There was only one thing left to do. I sent a final message to Theo. Need signature scans from all 3 branches, teller logs, photo stills, by morning. He responded with a thumbs up emoji. I smiled for the first time that night. It didn't reach my eyes. Pause line. At 5:30 a.m. I took a shower. The water never got warm. I dressed in black slacks, a fitted wool coat, pulled my hair into a low twist. Professional, unshakable. Then I slid the folder into my tote. The pie stayed behind in the motel fridge. Some things didn't need returning. Pause line. By 6:15, I was on the highway back to Maple Ridge. The sun hadn't risen, but I had. And I wasn't coming back as a daughter. I was coming back as the reckoning. The road curved like a scar through the hills. Frost clung to the trees like memory. Maple Ridge was still asleep when I pulled up. Same shutters, same swing creaking in the breeze. But it wasn't my house anymore. It was a scene, and I was about to redraw it. I didn't cut the engine. Just sat there, leather folder in my lap, fingers tight around the seams. I thought of Dad's voice, cold, final. Return the 40,000. Of Mom's silence. Of Lark's smirk, Jonah's calculated nod. Flashback. Christmas 3 years ago. Me handing Dad the receipt for their new roof. He said you didn't have to, but he took it anyway. Flash. The last birthday card from Mom. No note. Just love, Mom. Nothing else. Pause line. I looked at the house. The golden morning light hit it like a spotlight. Used to feel warm. Today it felt like a courtroom. And I wasn't walking in for redemption. I wasn't hoping for an apology. I was delivering evidence. Proof that trust can be weaponized. That betrayal has a paper trail. Pause line. I opened the door, grabbed the folder, and stepped into the cold. The ground crunched beneath my boots. I walked up the porch slow and steady. No knocking this time. Not as a daughter, as an investigator. And I wasn't leaving without verdicts. The door wasn't locked. It never was. I stepped into the hallway and let it close behind me. Voices floated from the kitchen, clatter of plates. Someone laughed. Lark. Pause line. I followed the sound. They were gathered around the table. Mom by the sink drying dishes. Jonah leaning on the fridge. Dad stirring something at the stove. Lark perched on the counter like a teenager, coffee in hand. Nobody noticed me at first. Then Mom turned. Everything stopped. Lark froze mid-swing of her legs. Jonah straightened. Dad stopped stirring. I didn't say a word, just walked past them. Placed the black leather folder on the island where we used to roll out cookie dough. I opened it. Carefully. Deliberately. Inside printed stills, logs, and teller slips, each page one truth they tried to bury. You believed I stole from Mom, I said quietly. I didn't. Pause line. Silence. I held up the first photo. Lark at Greenstream. Hoodie, sunglasses. Face half turned but visible. October 14th, 20,000, not online, in person. Nobody moved. I slid it onto the counter. Second photo. Jonah smiling, handing over a check. October 18th, 12,000. I pulled out the withdrawal slip. The handwriting matches the sticky note on the fridge. Same J, same tilt. Pause line. Lark's fingers gripped her mug tighter. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I laid down the teller logs. Same branch, same teller ID. Matched every visit. 3 times. Your turn, Jonah. I slid the IP logs toward him. First login after I left town wasn't from Mom's phone. It was from a tablet linked to this house. I didn't blink. The OTP went to an email address I didn't register. The recovery number, yours. Pause line. He looked at the counter, then at the floor. Nowhere else. You went through our stuff, Lark said, finally, voice thin. I tilted my head. You went through Mom's. Pause line. Mom stepped forward. She picked up one of the slips. Her hands trembled. When she spoke, her voice cracked. But the bank said it was all done online. They assumed that I said, because the account had online access. But the withdrawals weren't digital. They were physical, and here's the footage. Pause line. She looked down again, said nothing. Lark turned red. Jonah wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad still hadn't spoken. Pause line. I had more, much more, but I didn't need it. They knew. And worse, they knew I knew. I reached back into the folder, slid out a final set of documents. Here are the teller logs, every visit, every signature, and these. I placed the printed comparisons side by side. Your handwriting, Lark, from the birthday card last month. Pause line. No one argued. Not yet, so I kept going. This, I said, tapping the metadata printout, is the login history. Not from Mom's phone, but from the tablet you use for Netflix. Lark's lips parted, her shoulders tensed. I didn't flinch. And the recovery phone number. I turned to Jonah. Belongs to you. He finally looked up. His voice was low flat. She'll be fine, Mom. Calla makes more than all of us combined. It wasn't personal. I let that sit, like rot on the table. Pause line. It's always personal, I said, when it's family. Dad turned off the stove. Still didn't speak. Just stood there, quiet, watching. Mom sat down, hard, like her knees gave out. She looked at her hands, palms up, like she didn't know what they'd touched. I trusted you, she whispered. But I didn't know who she meant. Maybe herself. Maybe them. Maybe me. Pause line. You could have asked, I said softly, even once. No one answered. So I delivered the last blow. I'm not pressing charges, I said. Pause line. All heads lifted. But I've sent the file to Francine Howell, the family attorney. She'll know what to do with it. Lark stood. Too fast. What are you trying to prove, Calla? That you're better than us? I stared at her. No, that I'm not what you made me out to be. Jonah scoffed. It was just money. Pause line. My voice sharpened. Then you should have asked for it, not stolen it, not framed me. No one moved, so I zipped the folder shut. The sound was louder than expected. I adjusted my coat, walked toward the door. Halfway there, Mom's voice broke behind me. Calla. I stopped, but didn't turn. Thanksgiving's over, I said. You all made sure of that. Then I left. Didn't take the folder. Didn't take the pie. Just my keys. And whatever part of me still believed they would have chosen me. Pause line. No one followed. No one chased me down the driveway. No one called my name. The cold bit through my coat, but I didn't shiver. Not once. The car started on the first try. I pulled away from the house like it was just another building, just another lie. The trees blurred as I drove. That golden slant of sun between Halloween and Christmas didn't feel like home anymore, just made the pain easier to see. Pause line. Back in Boston, the city felt sharper. The harbor wind slapped harder. The crosswalks beeped louder. But I welcomed it. I returned to work Monday morning, slid into my desk chair, opened my laptop, reviewed quarterly audits like nothing had happened. But it had, and I wasn't the same. Pause line. I stopped calling on Sundays. Didn't check the family group chat. Didn't respond when Lark sent a vague hope you're okay text a week later. I let the voicemail icon blink for 3 days. Then I listened. It was Mom. Rachel, no sorry, Calla. We were wrong. I know that now. I don't expect forgiveness. I wanted you to know. The house feels empty. Click. She hung up before the minute mark. No apologies from Jonah. No explanations from Lark. Pause line. 2 weeks passed. Then the letter came. No return address. Just my name, written in familiar, careful print. Inside was a photo. Me, Lark, and Jonah on the back porch. I was 6, straw hat, painted freckles, a scarecrow. Lark had tinfoil wings. Jonah wore red face paint. Halloween. On the back, one sentence. We didn't know how much we'd miss you until you were gone. No signature. Pause line. A cousin from town later told me Jonah and Lark had both moved out. Mom stopped speaking to them. Said she needed space. I didn't ask what that meant. Didn't offer to return. I'd already left. The version of me they buried under suspicion. She wasn't coming back. Pause line. Instead, I built something new. I launched a weekend seminar at the community college. Financial protection for older adults. It wasn't glamorous. No applause, no headlines. But it mattered. One Saturday after class, a woman in her 70s came up to me. Her eyes misty. I wish I had a daughter like you, she said. I smiled. Didn't say what I was thinking. So did mine. Pause line. When December came and went, no tree, no call, no ornament exchange. Just snowfall and the kind of silence that tells you exactly where you stand. Pause line. There's a grief no one prepares you for. Not the kind from death, but from realization that the people you love chose someone else's version of you over the truth. And once they made that choice, they couldn't unmake it. Pause line. I still keep the folder. Not in my office. Not even on my desk. Just in a drawer near the bookshelf. Buried under old tax returns and a copy of the mortgage. I haven't opened it since that night. Don't need to. Because the facts haven't changed. And neither have I. I used to think silence meant peace. Now I know better. Silence can be violence too. It can carry shame. It can hide guilt. And sometimes it's just a way to make sure no one has to say the truth out loud. Pause line. At night, I'd replay the last time I saw them. Lark with her mug. Jonah arms crossed. Dad stirring something he never ate. And Mom, eyes on her lap. Too late to ask. Too quiet to defend. That image burned longer than the betrayal. Because it proved something I didn't want to admit. They didn't just doubt me. They were ready to live with the version of events that excluded me. Pause line. In January, a former student emailed me. Her mom had been scammed out of $17,000. She asked if I could help. I reviewed the files, pointed her to legal aid, then stayed on the call 5 minutes longer, just to ask how her mom was doing, because I remembered what it felt like when no one asked me. Pause line. One afternoon, I passed by a bakery downtown. They had pecan pies in the window. A handwritten sign said, "Molasses makes it richer." I smiled. Didn't buy one. But the scent followed me 3 blocks. I didn't hate it. Not anymore. Because it reminded me of who I was before they rewrote me. Pause line. People ask why I still use Brenner on my business card. I tell them names are just data points. What matters is the record behind them. And I have mine. Clean. Traceable. Backed by receipts. Pause line. Closure didn't come with a confrontation. It came with choice. To move forward? Without apology. Without waiting for someone else's truth to catch up to mine. Pause line. I know what I'm worth. I know what I lost. But more importantly, I know what I won't tolerate ever again. And that's the real inheritance. I didn't return for Easter. Or for Mom's birthday. I sent no gifts. No cards. No explanations. Pause line. Some truths don't need closure. Just boundaries. And I'd found mine. The folder still lives in my drawer. I don't touch it. Not because I'm afraid, but because I already know what's in it. Facts. Dates. Proof that even love can be used as a smokescreen. Pause line. And if someone ever tries to tell my story for me, I'll just open it, smile, and say, "Let me show you." Pause line. I still pass by that motel sometimes when work sends me north. Same neon sign. Same broken tea and vacancy. And I still remember the cold of that night. The weight of not being believed. The silence. But I remember something else too. I didn't break. I built. Pause line. So here's what I know now. You don't owe your family your silence. You don't owe your peace to people who profit from your pain. And sometimes, being right isn't about proving anything. It's about knowing you're still standing, even when no one claps. Pause line. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? What did it take to prove your truth? Pause line. Where in the world are you listening from tonight? Tell me in the comments, and if this story hit home, subscribe for more true revenge. Because some betrayals demand more than forgiveness. They demand the facts, and I kept mine.